Grandmaster invites a simple woman to play chess as a joke. What happened next silenced the room. Everyone in the room laughed when he pointed at her. "Come on," the Grandmaster said with a smirk, lifting the queen piece dramatically. "Surely, even you know how the pieces move." Her hands, calloused from years of dishwashing and tending to her late husband's garden, clutched her purse tighter. She didn't belong in this world of velvet-covered tables and silent concentration. Yet there she was, invited by mistake to a charity chess event, meant only for dignitaries and sponsors, not for women who cleaned their homes. "Well," the Grandmaster prodded again, his voice dripping with mock courtesy. "Would you like to try?" The crowd chuckled politely, the way people do when they know they're watching something absurd. A simple woman in a faded blue cardigan, facing off against Victor Novak, the most decorated chess grandmaster in the country. It was ridiculous, but she nodded, and the room grew quiet. Her name was Helen. She lived alone in a small, creaking cottage on the edge of town. Most days were spent reading old books, talking to the birds, and visiting the community library where, quietly, humbly, she taught children how to play chess. What no one knew, not the Grandmaster, not the smirking elites in the audience, was that Helen had once played in international youth championships. She had once beaten Grandmasters in training. But she gave it all up at 22 to care for her ailing mother, then later her disabled husband. Life took the board from her, and she led it, not with regret, but with grace. But now, the board was back. She sat across from Victor Novak, her hands trembling only slightly as she reached for the white pawn. E4, he grinned. E5, a standard opening. The king's game, some whispered. Maybe he was humoring her. Maybe he was playing to the crowd. But her eyes never left the board. Nf3, nc6. Then something shifted. The tempo of her moves changed. They became sharper, more precise. Her fingers danced across the squares like someone recalling a beloved melody. Within 10 moves, Victor's smirk was gone. The murmurs in the room stopped. By move 15, he leaned forward, his brow furrowed. By move 23, he glanced at the arbiter, as if seeking confirmation that this wasn't a setup, that this wasn't being broadcast as some elaborate prank. And Helen? She sat calm, composed, eyes focused, breathing slow. Every piece she moved, she did with quiet confidence, as if she were returning home. By move 31, she sacrificed her knight. The audience gasped. Victor hesitated. His hand hovered over the board, uncertain. A trap, he knew it too late. 5 moves later, he was in checkmate. Silence fell like a curtain. Not a whisper, not a breath. The Grandmaster leaned back, stunned. The arbiter blinked. The audience sat frozen. Then a child clapped. Then another. Then the whole room erupted, not in laughter, but in awe, in disbelief, in reverence. Helen smiled politely, her cheeks a little pink, and reached out her hand. "Thank you for the game," she said, her voice soft, as though she'd merely played a round of cards in a neighbor's kitchen. Victor shook her hand, dazed. Then he stood, and, to everyone's shock, bowed. "Who are you?" he asked, voice low, shaken. "I'm nobody," she replied with a shrug. "Just someone who loves the game." That night, the story made headlines. Unknown woman defeats Grandmaster in charity match. Cinderella of chess. Retired housewife silences the room. But Helen didn't care about the press. She turned off the TV, boiled herself some tea, and sat by the window, watching the fireflies. She wasn't seeking recognition or fame, but she had reminded the world of something important. That brilliance doesn't always wear a suit or hold a trophy. Sometimes it wears a cardigan and carries groceries. That genius isn't reserved for the spotlight. It can live quietly in the corners of the world, waiting for its moment. And that it's never too late. Never too late to sit down, face your past, and remind the world and yourself who you really are. Helen never played publicly again. She returned to her quiet life, teaching chess to the children who adored her. But at every tournament from that day forward, there was an empty seat reserved at the side of the Grandmaster's table. just in case she ever walked in again. And though she never did, everyone knew, if she had, the room would go silent once more.